Hello, you are welcome. My name remains Mr. Sampson with Royal Tutors. I'm sure you've been enjoying most of our series in the in sciences. And today we're going to be learning about something very important. Let me ask you a question on the topic you can see on the screen. Habitat. Beautiful. Do you love the home you can see there? Yeah. Then I need to ask you a question as well. Do you have a home? Do you have a place where you live? That will answer a lot of questions as far as habitat is concerned. So follow me as we'll continue in the series of habitat. It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. All right, so follow me as we go. What is a habitat? A lot of things going on in your mind right now. Follow Mr. Sampson on the journey. Good. When we talk about a habitat, we're talking about an ecological or environmental area that is inhabited by human or a particular species of animals. It can also be plants or any other type of organism. Ecological or environmental area, synonymous, right? They are the same thing. Okay, inhabited by either humans or a particular species of animals or plants or any other type of organism. All right, so we can say in a nutshell that a place where living things live is its habitat. The place where living things live is its habitat, okay? It is a place where they can find shelter. It's a place where that living thing can find comfort, can find protection, can find mates for reproduction, okay? Where it will be convenient for them to give birth to their own young ones. It can also be called the natural environment in which an organism lives, or the physical environment that surround a species of population. All right, so all of this is just talking about a habitat. Okay, so we can say a habitat also is the living place of a plant, an animal. Okay, it can be very big and it can be very small, but a place where a plant and animal live, where they get their comfort, where it's convenient for them to reproduce, all right, for them to get their food and shelter, is called a habitat. So we have different animals and plants that require different conditions to survive. We're still going to be looking at this, very much more later. Okay, we have different animals, we have different plants, require different living conditions for them to survive. Now let me ask you, I don't know what your name is. Let me ask you, can you survive for 5 days in water? Can you survive for 5 days in water? I'm sure the answer is going to be no, right? The reason is because that is not your natural dwelling place. That is not your natural dwelling place. Okay, for example, for organisms to survive, for example, whales, all right? Whales need seawater for them to survive, all right? They need seawater for them to survive. Okay, then we have goldfish. Goldfish actually need fresh water to survive. Goldfish require fresh water to survive. Then some animals can survive in more than one habitat. And some can only survive in one habitat. We're going to still talk more extensively on that as we continue in the series. Some organisms can survive in more than one habitat, while we have some can only survive in one habitat. Okay, so go on with me as we proceed. You can see this beautiful home. It's an habitat probably of human, okay, where people can stay and enjoy everything that has to do with life. All right, As beautiful, as small as this cup is the natural habitat for that plant in it. All the nutrients that the plant needs to grow, to survive, yeah, are all embedded in that cup. So we can say that is the habitat for that plant. Probably not the natural habitat, but it is the habitat for that plant at that particular point in time. Yeah. So in as much you have shelter, this topic is for you. Now let's go to, you might be wondering, what type of habitat do I live in presently? What kind of habitat do we have? We have different kinds of habitat. We have different kinds of habitat. All embedded in terrestrial, we have the forest habitat, which is a terrestrial habitat. When we talk about terrestrial, we're talking about land, okay? Habitats that has to do with land. The desert habitat is also a terrestrial habitat. Okay, we have to split them. We have the water habitat, which is known as the aquatic habitat. All right. Then we have the grassland habitat. The grassland habitat is also known as land habitat. All right. Then we have the arboreal habitat. The arboreal habitat. So can we list them? Different types of habitat. Remember I said for the forest, for the desert, and for the grassland, they are all known as the terrestrial habitat. Habitation on land. We have the forest habitat, we have the desert habitat, we have the aquatic habitat, which is also known as the water habitat. We have the grassland habitat, and we have the arboreal habitat. So let's take it one at a time. Right. Don't forget, this is also a part of terrestrial habitat, the forest habitat. Have you been to a forest before? Yeah. A forest is a type of habitat which is covered with a large area where we have many trees, we have many plants in there, and animals. Okay? So the forests in plants most of the time provide shade and protection for different kinds of animals. You can see the picture of a forest right here on the screen. It provides shade and protection for different kinds of animals. And the habitation is so vast because we have quite a lot of animals living in the forest. That is their natural dwelling place. That is their natural habitat. That is their place of dwelling. Okay, that is their natural dwelling place. Has a lot of trees in there. Yeah, a lot of trees are there in the forest that serve as protection even for some animals. Yeah, the tree protects some animals from danger. All right, so we're still going to talk about your opinion about some of the animals that live in the forest. Okay, so let's move on to the desert habitat. Have you ever been in the desert before? Yeah, I'm sure you should have heard about a desert. Most of the time, a desert is usually characterized by dry conditions and a wide temperature range. Usually characterized by dry condition and a wide temperature range. So we can define this region as a place that is less than about 254 millimeters of annual rainfall or precipitation. So rain hardly falls in the forest. Yeah, rain hardly falls in the forest, but we have some organisms that live here in the desert as their natural dwelling place. It's a place rich in sunlight, all right, wide temperature range with less amount of rainfall. So this is also another type of habitat. Can we go on? Now to the one we all are most familiar with, the aquatic habitat. When we talk about the aquatic habitat, otherwise also known as the water habitat, it refers to regions that is being covered with water, where we have a lot of plants and animals they're surviving. So the aquatic habitat is a place or a region where we have water bodies, all right, and organisms that can live there must be able to survive in the water. I know quite a lot of organisms are coming to your mind right now. Yeah. Now, the aquatic habitat can be divided very broad, very large, okay? It can also be divided into the freshwater habitat. It can be divided into the marine habitat and what we call the coastal or the estuaries, the coastal habitat. So water is the major medium for organisms to survive in the aquatic habitat. Water is the major medium for organisms to survive in the aquatic habitat. Let's take the three major types of subhabitat we have in the aquatic space. We have the freshwater habitat. Now for the freshwater habitat, these are water bodies that are filled with fresh water. Okay, when we talk about fresh water, they have just very minute amount of salt or no salt at all. Yeah. So these include, we have rivers, we have lakes, we have ponds, we have streams, etc. So the water present here have a very low concentration of salt. Very low concentration of salt. And we have some plants that grows within this space. The plant growing in water are called hydrophytes. Okay, plants that grows in water are called hydrophytes. So we have freshwater habitat. Now we also have the marine habitat, still under the aquatic habitat. When we talk about the marine habitat, we're talking about organisms that live in the sea and the ocean. Okay, now these are full of life because we have varieties of organisms that exist in the marine habitat. Full of life, yeah, because the ocean is very big, the sea is so big as well. All right, we have organisms such as corals, we have the shelled animals, we have the sponges, we have the jellyfish, we have the shark, we have many more animals that can be found in this habitat. Just for you to know, the marine space is salty compared to the freshwater habitat. You know, we said the freshwater habitat have a low concentration of salt. But when it comes to the marine space, it's been concentrated with lots of salt. Now let's look at the coastal habitat, or what we call the estuaries. Now this region is represented by a place where land meets the sea. The estuaries are formed where we have the salt water mixing with the fresh water. And we have some unique special trees that are always found around this region. For example, like the mangroves are always found around this region. And we have animals also develop well adapted to live in this region. Animals well adapted to live in this region. So when we talk about the aquatic space, the aquatic habitat, don't forget we're talking about the water habitat, and we have the fresh water, we have the marine water, then we have the coastal habitat or estuaries. Now you can see fishes in the ocean or sea, as the case may be. Yeah, don't forget when we talk about the aquatic habitat, we're talking basically about water habitat. It can be fresh water, it can be the coastal region, and it can be the marine habitat. Good. So can we go on now to the grassland habitat? Don't forget this is also a part of the terrestrial space and the terrestrial habitat. So when we talk about the grassland habitat, they are big open space of grass, about a quarter of land on earth, and that is in the grassland. Okay, we have two major types of grassland. we have the temperature grassland, and we have the tropical grassland. Okay, so when we talk about the temperature grassland, they are far from the equator, and they have both cold winters and hot summer. That is what happens at the temperature grassland. Then when we have the tropical grassland, they are closest to the equator, because all the time it's usually hot in that region. Okay, it's usually hot in that region. We have so many organisms that live in the grassland. We have the bison, we have the giraffe, we have the lion, we have the zebra, we have the ostrich. They all live in this region. This is how the grassland looks like. You can see that it is predominant by grasses. We have a lot of grasses within this region. We have a lot of grasses within this region. Okay, this is a typical example of how the grassland habitat looks like. Yeah, I'm sure you're digesting that when we talk about different types of habitat. Now let's move to the arboreal habitat. The arboreal habitat is that part of a forest or the woodland that is made up of trees. Trees. Do you know some organisms, some animals spend most of their times on the trees? Yeah, those are organisms that live in the arboreal space. Okay, animals that live in there, for example, we have the monkeys, we have the sloths, we have many birds and insects, spend most of their time off the ground, okay, using the tree for both food, for shelter, and for movement. So when we talk about the arboreal habitat is basically the treetop hole. All right, so organisms that live on the treetop are known as the what? They are the ones we know as the arboreal organism. They are the ones we know as the arboreal organism. We have so many insects, we have so many birds, we have the monkeys, they belong to this category. So this is how the arboreal space looks like. Okay, organisms live within this space. This is how the arboreal space looks like. You could see organisms like monkeys can jump from one region to the other, can jump from one part of the tree to the other, because the tree serves as food, it serves as protection, okay, from other prey for them. So that is how the arboreal habitat works. Now let's do a little like a little testing here. What kind of habitat is the first picture? Check. You could see someone sitting here. All right, you could see them sitting, you could see a man, you could see a dog or cat right there. Of course, can you think about that? What category of habitat does that belong to? If you say terrestrial habitat, you're correct. Okay, is it a grassland? Is it a desert? Yeah, which of them is it? Okay, good. So the second habitat, what do you think? Yeah, that looks more like a desert, right? Yeah, that looks more like a desert. So we have organisms that live in the desert. You can see them right there on the screen. You could see people sitting on grasses. That looks like what? What kind of habitat? Of course, if you say terrestrial habitat, you're correct. But that looks like what? It is a grassland. Grassland habitat. Okay, grassland habitat, yeah, predominated by grasses. Okay, I'm sure you could see fishes underneath there, right? Yeah, you could see fishes underneath there. And what is that telling you? What kind of habitat are you seeing right there? Aquatic habitat, or what we call water habitat. And don't forget that can be split into three groups. All right, we have the aquatic habitats, we have the freshwater, we have the marine, and we have the coastal habitats or the estuarine. Okay, you can see a monkey on a tree. What kind of habitat is that? That is the arboreal habitat. That is the arboreal habitat. All right, don't forget, we'll see that in our next video, talking about changes in habitat can sometimes pose danger to living things. When there is changes in habitat, it can pose danger to living things. In summary, a habitat is the natural dwelling place of an organism. Natural dwelling place of an organism. See you in our next video. Right? Bye for now.